So Bridget,
talk to me.
As lot's happened since the last time you and I sat down,
Yes.
which was years ago.
A long time ago, yeah.
You know, when I talked to you last, you were signed to Roc Nation.
Yes.
Okay, obviously you're not in that situation anymore.
No, still a part of their songwriting department. So I'm still songwriting, so they, yeah.
That's a lot of money in songwriting.
Yeah.
Big checks. Can you talk about some of the people you write for? Or they don't. Can't
To be honest, it's a matter of really shopping and trying to get stuff placed that doesn't work for me. So I just recently got back into my writing rhythm. I took a little break outside of my album to film Love and Hip Hop Hollywood, which is kind of taking up the majority of this year for me. So, you know, that's I think now I'm getting back into my songwriting game and trying to get more stuff placed with different artists.
I mean, obviously we're going to address the elephant in the room. You went on Love and Hip Hop. When I heard that Bridget Kelly was going on Love and Hip Hop, I was like, wow. And you know, I mean, that's a big move from, you know, obviously recording records and everything, but it's also an opportunity because you can use it for marketing too.
100%. And that's really what I've done. I mean, I came on this season and made my entire focus around what my current life focus is, which was the promotion of my album, and I put my album out in April, so I really felt I felt really proud about it, and I felt really excited to use the platform to share the project with the world. And you know, luckily the network was in support of that. You know what I mean? As opposed to participating in a lot of the drama, I had a chance to really utilize the platform properly and put music out. You know what I mean? And then get the other castmates involved. We were able to take our first cast trip to London this year because I had some promo and a show to do over there. So it really worked out in my favor.
You know, it's funny. I recall when I interviewed you, I asked you back then, would you consider doing reality TV?
And I said no.
You said no.
I remember.
You wasn't for that.
And you know, I think what the crazy thing about the difference between then and now, right? We look at how powerful technology is in our industry, in entertainment, in music, especially social media, YouTube. I think all of those components really aid and help with marketing and pushing projects and promotional use. So I felt like, you know, in addition to social media now being such a crucial tool, I feel like television is also a crucial tool. You know, I think I've been on stages all across the world, but I think ultimately people want to see more about who you are. I think the idea of an artist being completely, you know, mystified and mysterious is not as exciting anymore. Absolutely. You know, the more saturation, the more information you get, the better. That's really the name of the game now.
It's almost, I liken that to someone who has used the PC for so long and was fighting to go to the moon.
Right.
So, you know, it's
hard.
It's hard, but you know, you have to keep up with the times.
Yes, absolutely.
I also noticed on Love and Hip Hop, you stay above the fray.
I try.
Yeah, I mean,
I try.
But you know how those producers are, you know.
Listen, they love a good edit. They love a good snip of a clip, and just, you know, kind of let you look a little petty, which is fine. I think, you know, I know what I signed up for at the end of the day. You know, there's got to be a balance between the stuff that we love to push and promote and the stuff that people want to see, which is, you know, sometimes everybody got to get a little ratchet. It's okay. Nothing wrong with it.
Was it ever a time during the filming, and then once you saw the final cut, it was something you was like, why did they do that? Why did that?
This season, not so much. This season, I really, I think they allowed me to play a really diplomatic, honorable role in the cast. Last season, which was my first time really in front of the camera, I was in a relationship, and so my relationship fell apart on camera. So that was really devastating for me to go through that in the public eye, but also to have to deal with that devastation in private as well. You know what I mean? And try to heal from it and take my time to really, you know, to deal with what was going on. I think, you know, in watching some of those edits from last season, I think I cringed at how they cut and paste some of the things and the timing of some of the scenes that they chose to put back to back. Kind of felt a little, you know, unfair. But I think, you know, at the end of the day, again, I know what I signed up for, so I have no control over the edit, and I don't get a chance to even see it before it airs. So I'm watching it usually for the first time with the audience when it comes on.
I call it the Jessica Simpson curse, because that was the biggest breakup. And watching that, you know, when people get on reality TV, it happens.
Absolutely. It's really hard.
Was your significant other at the time opposed to even you getting on the show?
I wouldn't say he was opposed to it. I think at the time I was willing to do it without him, but I think we both understood the capacity to be, to be portrayed as a single woman on the cast, and neither one of us really wanted that to be the stigma, because when we had dated early on in our relationship, he was hidden, and I kept him out of the limelight. I kept him out of the public eye on purpose to protect us. But that also left a lot of misunderstandings and a lot of room for error and for people to just kind of think that I was out here by myself. And I think we both wanted to avoid that on the last season. But it was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of pressure for him. It was a lot of pressure for me to show up and perform a certain way on camera, when off camera we were having our own problems. And I think that's where people get confused. I think the audience they can't necessarily discern what's real and what's not. And for us, a lot of those moments are real. Some of them are produced. You know what I mean? We go in and we kind of have an idea of what we may be expected to do or say. But for the most part, our reactions are completely us. You know what I mean? Those are happening in real time. My breakup on camera was happening in real time.
In retrospect, what would you do differently moving forward? Because you obviously still filming.
Yes.
You obviously knew what some of the things that affected your relationship.
Yeah.
Past. What would you do differently?
At this point, I really would try my hardest to stray from including a lot of my relationship stuff on the show, and I think only because it's different. When the cameras turn on, everybody's different, right? I think that's the tricky thing about reality TV. When you have offline conversations with other cast members, with production, there's a certain idea about how you want to be portrayed, but then when you get put in the hot seat and somebody comes at you a little crazy in that moment, you're like, well, wait a minute, you're not going to make me look crazy, so now I got to one-up you, and you know what I mean? It just becomes this ascension to a different level of insanity. So,
and I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Not just for you, but for other
in general.
In general, once the cameras are on,
right,
the turn up is real.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like let's see who can throw what and say what about who first. You know what I mean? It turns into that type of a party. So, I think the best way for me to avoid that with a significant other is to just not bring them on the show. So I mean, going forward, if I return for another season, then whether I'm in a relationship or not, it's not going to be brought on camera. So there are in other shows, for example, Real Housewives of Atlanta. Yes.
They stress upon the cast members to have relationships.
Yeah, they do the same. They do the same with us. Mm-hmm. Just because I think they want to catch a glimpse of who you are with somebody that you have a really strong interpersonal relationship with. It's hard. It's different with the cast because we can figure out. We all have one end game, which is to, show up, do our job. Commit to whatever the scenario is, and whether or not we have a rapport with the other cast members or not doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Who we decide to show up as with the cast members is on us, but who we are with the people that we actually deal with in real life is not as interchangeable. So they want to be able to capture a lot of that authenticity within a romantic relationship.
Your BFF on the show is K. Michelle.
Well, Brooke Valentine is actually my BFF on the show.
Brooke, okay.
Yeah, K. Michelle and I have a long-standing history, and she's an artist I really respect. And even as a businesswoman, I'm really an admirer of how far she's come, and watching her evolution as a businesswoman too, I think is really great. But as far as somebody that I consider my friend that I would call in a situation, Brooke is definitely the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's that?
We had a very interesting rivalry last year on the show, and it wasn't even so much a rivalry as it was like just a petty competition to see, who could insult each other the most in a situation. And because I was coming out of a relationship and her relationship was on the rocks towards the end of the filming season, her and I really took the time out to develop a relationship and help each other heal through some things that we some common travesties that we've gone through, and I think that allowed us to build a genuine bond with each other. And then coming back into this season, we were given the opportunity again to build on that friendship and really develop a sense of trust with one another, and it's long lasting. We talked about it it this morning. We were like, listen, she shot me a text, like whatever happens, like I'm really happy to have your support, and you know I have your back no matter what. And I think, you know, it's great. It's one of the upsides to participating in this show.
And it's important to have someone that you can trust and won't turn up on you unexpectedly.
Or if she does, then I'll get a text like, listen, I'm about to show up and I'm about to flip this whole table, sis. And I'm like, all right, I got you. If you need to, you know, we have those conversations. We prep each other, and you know, we at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are still doing our job. You know what I mean? We can still entertain the audience and still be ourselves and still, you know, hold one another accountable and still push each other to be better artists. And I think that's the point.
And people are gonna watch this interview and they're gonna say they prep each other, but you just said 90% of it is real.
Oh yeah.
90?
I would say 90% of it is real. Oh yeah. In the moment, everything that's happening is real. It's not. There's no like script that people are reading ahead of time. That's not how this works at all. Right. You know, and a lot of times, a lot of cast members are dealing with some very real issues and real problems and real drama, and that carries over into the show. Even if it's got nothing to do with something, you know, that's being filmed, they still may be harboring something emotional, so the reactions are a lot more amplified.
Was it something on the show that was revealed that it was almost like you didn't really want to bring it out there, but it just kind of just spilled out?
Yeah, I mean, I think last year for me it was talking about infidelity, and I had a situation where in my relationship the first time around I wasn't faithful, I wasn't honest, and I didn't want that to be the highlight. I mean, I'm being honest about it now. Everybody makes mistakes, you know how it goes, but I really I felt like out of all of the things in my music that I've shared, that was something that I never really talked about in my records, and it was something that I dealt with in trying to repair my relationship. And you know, it was a very important detail in our relationship, but now looking back on it, I'm kind of disappointed that was part of the story that we ran with on the show, because it really, that element of it had very little to do with the fact that our relationship ended at the time that it did last year. Our relationship ending last year had nothing to do with that incident. It had more to do with personal issues and development things and just not being on the same page. And I think, you know, everybody that watched the show, that watched that just kind of labeled me as like, you know, the girl with the scarlet letter, and that was it, and nobody cared. You know what I mean? It was like nobody really, and I never had a chance to really clear that up.
Now you do.
Now I do.
This is the first time.
Now I do. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Now, going back to your music, you are working in the studio right now.
Yes. Yes.
You want to talk about the song that you're currently working on?
So I put an album out this year called Reality Bites, which was my first full-length album. And I mean, you've been around for years, so you know I've put a number of EPs out, a number of singles out, all of which I'm very proud of and have been really incredible to share. Definitely different facets of my personality and my life and my relationships and experiences. But this new project I'm working on for me is drawing from a different place. I wanted to kind of tell a little more about my own thoughts as a single woman, as somebody that's in her 30s now, that's kind of like grappling with the idea that everybody's getting married and having children, and I'm not there yet, and I'm fine with it. I'm totally okay with it, and I think that's kind of the vibe that I'm going for this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's interesting you said that. I just finished a photograph of my cousin's wedding. I've been in photography for 30 years, and that's the first time I photographed a family member's wedding.
Wow.
So it was kind of surreal for me, and then talking about that. So guys who see this know that Bridget is single and mingling.
Single and mingling, yes. But I'm a lover of love. So I think, I would love to be in a relationship and love to have one person to share all of these incredible experiences with. But I think I'm also a firm believer that everything has its season, and this year for me has been all about work and all about evolving as an artist and getting back to the basics, like songwriting, like trying to get things placed and writing for other artists. And then, you know, next year I really want to get back on the road. I really want to tour. These last 2 years were all about creating and all about healing and all about some real self-development and awareness. And I think now I'm ready to, like, okay, let's get on the road and make this presentation to the people and really get back to, get back to the fans and reemerge for the current fans, and then also get to know some new ones.
You are also a gym rat, so to speak.
Yes.
I check out some of your videos, and I'm into fitness as well.
Okay.
So watching you do that, I think is inspiring for women, and
yes.
it's also encouragement. It's following through with Michelle Obama,
yes.
First Lady Michelle Obama,
yes.
did in physical fitness.
Mm-hmm.
Tell everybody why is that so important for you.
For me, it's really a matter of mental and emotional health, right? In entertainment, there's so many variables in our careers and our lives that are not in our control, and I feel like if there's anything that I can control and manifest every day, it's that I can get up and I can work out and really control the results, control my effort, control how I feel, and really just have something that I can create for me. I think as an entertainer, we give so much of ourselves on a daily basis that there's very little that we keep for ourselves. And for me, working out and exercising is really my way of, taking control of something in my life and really feeling accountable for it and feeling proud about my efforts in that space. My mantra is, if you didn't sweat, it didn't count.
Right.
Because I feel like, when you start to see results in your life, in your development, in your growth, you feel more empowered to keep going. I think that's really the telltale sign. It's always the hardest to start, right? To get in. Everybody always says, like, the hardest part is getting to the gym. Once you get to the gym, it should be smooth sailing, right? So, I feel like that's kind of a great benchmark for people that have a hard time, being motivated. I think being self-motivated is hard. I don't think everybody necessarily has it in them to get up every day and really, and attack something that way. And so for me, once I get to the gym, it's like until I'm sweating, I don't feel like I've really put in enough work. So.
I was scrolling through your story earlier, and I said one stood out for me, as it did for a lot of people in the country. Yesterday,
yes.
another well-known recording artist, Kanye West.
Yes.
We got to talk about this. He went to the White House with the alleged intended purpose to talk about prison reform.
Right.
Clearly, that meeting went left.
Right.
Watching that as a recording artist, seeing as an African American woman, knowing what the president has said about other African Americans, what was going through your mind watching that as someone who is in the music business?
I think I watched it more as a person that is sensitive to the mental and emotional and our own healing and own maintenance of ourselves and our mental and emotional health outside of the public eye. I think Kanye is a genius as an artist. I think as a person, he is a very tortured soul that has a lot of healing to do. And I think yesterday was a perfect display of how unstable he is. And even watching the interaction between him and Mr. Trump, it just felt like he was being played. And for the most part, we've seen Mr. Trump meet with a bunch of different people, and he's super interactive, and he's the salesman, right? He's the one that does all the talking and the schmoozing, and it's just like always this greasy presentation. But he was very quiet, and he just let Kanye come in and pretty much make a fool of himself.
And that's what most people saw.
Yeah.
And that's the first time anyone saw the president in the Oval Office not saying anything.
Right. I don't want to say I feel bad for Kanye, because I don't feel bad. I think he's aware of the power that he has, and I think he's aware that he is not in a space where he should be having any of these types of conversations. And I think in general, the fact that he was allowed to be the one to go in and negotiate anything was really upsetting and embarrassing for entertainers, but also for people of color. I don't think anybody in this country feels like he represents them right now, and that's the part that's the most sad, because he's on a platform where people that are ignorant to what's actually happening outside of the right-wing conservative whitewash world of Donald Trump they have no idea what's going on, and to see someone like Kanye go in there and make a presentation that, honestly, from what I could tell, based on everything that he said, was really about him and had very little to do with anything that's happening in our world, in our culture. And I don't.
Well, he did talk about Larry Hoover, and the problem I had with that was Larry Hoover is a 68-year-old, obviously someone that has triple life,
right,
that's in the Supermax prison,
right,
and it wasn't just for drugs, and that's what was that's what was being portrayed in that meeting.
Correct.
But if you do your research, it was more than drugs,
right,
and you don't get to Supermax just selling marijuana or cocaine. You would have to do something real heinous
right.
in the Supermax. So I think that for him to be speaking, not just to America, but that would reach everyone around the world.
Right. Well, I mean, I think the bigger issue that I have with that is that he is, and I mean, his wife has done the same thing, where they've gone in and they have tried to argue on behalf of individuals versus discuss actual policy reform. And I think that should be the beginning of the conversation. That should be the preliminary talk. It shouldn't be to negotiate on behalf of somebody that's earned his right into prison versus why are we still arresting, why are we still putting people in jail for small misdemeanors? Why are the violations to probation so fragile and so minuscule? Why are we not discussing that overall? I think that's where I feel like I mean, you're talking about two people that are unqualified to be having any of the conversations.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, there's so many different approaches that could be taken that are more appropriate, that are more accurate and in tune with what's actually taking place in the streets. But, I mean...
Well, let me ask you a question. I don't know what social issues do you champion as a human being. What is important to you, Bridget Kelly, as not the artist, but Bridget Kelly,
women's rights are very important to me. Women's rights, but also women's reproductive rights are very important to me. But I think that still falls under the same umbrella. I think education and healthcare is really important to me as well. Race relations is a hard. It's a tough conversation to have because I think being a mixed race person, I can see both sides of the coin and both sides of the argument. I'm definitely a supporter of Black Lives Matter, but I do think that in order to further that conversation, we have to remove a lot of the partisan rhetoric that takes place in the conversation, right? I think now what's happening in our politics is that we're approaching things that should be social justice and human rights issues as Republican Democrat issues, and I don't think that they're separated that way, and that's really hard for me as a person in this country to not be embarrassed about the fact that we have such strict immigration ideas and such cruel intentions with how we deal with immigrant families and putting children in cages. And to me, that's not a partisan conversation. To me, a woman having access to contraception is not a partisan conversation. I don't think that we have, as a country, figured out yet how to sit down and speak with the intention of being understood versus speak with the intention of bulldozing.
So obviously the nomination and appointment of Brett Kavanaugh.
Disgusting.
Very disturbing. And I think the conservatives' goal is to reverse Roe versus Wade.
That's the first order. That's the first order of business.
And it's ironic that someone who's been accused of all these things will be making a decision.
Yeah.
Even as an associate justice, making the decision that will affect women. It's so ironic.
I mean, that's the nature of the beast, right? It's typically the people that have been placed in power. But again, what it goes back to is it's a Republican agenda. The agenda is to maintain 100% control of what's happening in the House and what's happening in Congress. And to me, that's what this represents. They don't care what he's done. They don't care who he's hurt. They don't care who he intends to hurt. He's a Republican. He's a white man. He's in power. It's that simple.
Have you decided, we have midterm elections coming up in the next 3 weeks.
Yes.
Have you participated in getting people more active and interested in the voting process?
Yes, I post on my Twitter, Rock the Vote. A lot of the Rock the Vote initiatives have been really great, and Judd Apatow is actually hosting something in LA in a couple weeks, downtown LA, which is going to be really great to try and encourage more people to come out and vote, but also to just check on your status, because now there's all these different purges happening in different states, and that's the other thing that people need to be more aware of and more conscious of, because and for the most part we just assume that once we've registered, we're set, we're good to go, and then we show up
to another location, they send a card out, you don't get it.
You never get it, right? And nobody notifies you. And now that everything is digital, you can check online. You can log on based on your city, your county, your state, and for local legislation and for the broader legislation, you are able to check your status and make sure that you're registered.
I mean, this question is for the team. I think you should be doing a Rock the Vote or Rock the Vote photo shoot.
We did one a couple years ago. We did a video campaign for them a couple years ago. We may have to do another one.
Photos. Put something out there. We need that.
We need more of it. More of it.
Yeah, we need more of that.
Yes,
You're
absolutely.
Beauty, and I think that would inspire the guys to be at the polls.
Right, like meet me at the polls, honey. Like I'll be there 9 a.m. Like, right. Listen, it's important. It's important. However, we can get people to use their voice and really make a serious effort. I think that's really what's been missing. I think we're so tired. I think people are so tired of, feeling undermined and feeling defeated in a lot of these issues. And I think, ultimately, as a Democrat, and for the most part, I think I am a Democrat. I think ultimately it's a matter of we have to stop bringing knives to the gunfight. You know what I mean? We get pummeled every time we're on these issues, and I think there's a lack of solidarity, and we need to find a representative that's going to light everybody on the right up.
And one of the most important things that we have to realize is the midterms.
Yeah.
The midterms is going to determine what's going to happen in the general election in 2020.
Yeah.
So no matter it doesn't matter who you vote for, but you got to participate in the process.
Yes, somehow.
Yeah,
even if you don't know, there's never going to be a perfect candidate. There's never going to be somebody that's completely wholesome, that you love everything about, that has a squeaky clean image, but there's some fundamental things that they should represent that are applicable to you, to your life as an individual, and I think that's what we should be basing our choices off of.
Absolutely. So lastly,
yes,
where can we cop the music?
Everywhere. I mean, Apple Music it's on Apple Music, it's on iTunes, it's streaming everywhere. Spotify, Tidal, Google Play, Amazon, you can get it anywhere. It's streaming everywhere. Where are we today? Google. So yes, my album Reality Bites is on Google Play, so make sure you go and check that out.
Is there anything else that you haven't told me that you want to share with me before the lights go out?
No, just keep tuning into Love and Hip Hop Hollywood every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. And there's lots of new music to come, lots of exciting things on the way and in the works, and make sure that you are registered to vote. November 6th is right around the corner. Do not waste your time. Make sure you get in there and know your status before that day comes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bridget Kelly.